Hello, my name is Q, and here's a little tiny rhyme guide for beginners and intermediate players. While making this video, I'm sitting at around 12k 4 score, doing 30-something dungeons. And while I don't consider myself a top player, and my words are certainly not set in stone, I'd still like to share some basic tips and tricks on how to get more comfortable with your winter elf. There are great written resources online. I personally got started at Icy Veins, and later on I watched ShushWow's Rime Guide for some great rotation tips. Rime's a super fun, versatile damage dealer that focuses on generating and spending her winter orbs. Our main playstyle is based on the talent Winter's Embrace, which gives you increased damage while your bursting ice is up on a target. So basically, we're building up resources, then using them within this window, rinse and repeat. Stat-wise, we're looking at Intellect, Haste, Crit Expertise, and lastly Spirit. So as you start out, always equip the higher item level piece. Let's say you have a gem slot on a Paragon piece, but something drops for you in Eternal, still equip the Eternal piece. You can always tweak stats and stuff later. When you do start going for gems, you generally want to go for the haste one and the crit ones first. Don't have to copy me. And then you can start tweaking into the other ones. So you have, for example, the 3% primary stat buff here. And over here you have a shield every minute. I am definitely going for this one next. And then here you got another int buff. So like I said, don't worry about it too early on. But once you do, have fun with it. I want to preface this by saying that you should primarily focus on having a fun experience, and min-maxing early on is not necessary. Before you've equipped Eternal level gear, you don't have to worry about sockets, weapon traits, or even sets. Hoard as much gold, resources, and gems as you possibly can, and don't focus on upgrading everything until you have Eternal gear. But of course, if you want to try different things and gear on your journey, that's perfectly fine. There's a cache in the stronghold you can stash away things so that your bag doesn't get too messy. The Void Touch weapon is our best, and you want to pair it with at least one of your DPS cooldowns to get the most value out of it. Something you could do is build up some orbs, send the weapon, go into Bursting Ice, and do your spenders in your rotation. The weapon can crit, and another thing is that it snapshots. This means that if your Glacial Blast is already flying by the time Bursting Ice ends, you're still getting the 20% increased damage. When you press your weapon ability doesn't matter. What matters is that you know you have the damage to fill it up. For relics, these are the best ones, stat and value wise. We got the Dispel that's infinitely helpful in dungeons like Wormheart and Cithral's Fall, the Sin Binding Stone that gives your entire group damage reduction, and the Revive that resurrects the player. There's also the Chicken that turns your target into a chicken. Bark, bark. These relics have good stats for us, but you can and should definitely swap around depending on what the group needs. For the talent builds, while you're still gearing up, Icy Veins has a great recommendation of choices as you rise in talent points. Though they're generally created around the legendaries, they can still be used without the legendaries. Rime's rotation doesn't change with your legendary choice, it's more of a playstyle vibe. The boots increase your bursting ice debuff to 5 seconds instead of 3. This gives you bigger burst windows thanks to Winter's Embrace. The idea is to really make sure you're stacked up on winter orbs before you use bursting ice. So basically, build up orbs, use your spenders in the bursting ice window, rinse and repeat. Make use of the icy flow talent to make sure your spenders hit harder by weaving in cold snaps. The cloak builds up stacks of damage on your target whenever you use the freezing torrent button. After that, when you use cold snap, those built up stacks explode for damage, both single target and AoE. So to maximize here, you want to use your cold snap within the bursting ice window so that the cloak stacks do increase damage. For legendaries, it doesn't really matter what you equip, but the recommended legendaries are the cloaks and the boots. The reason is that it's easier to create talent builds to play around those effects, while the necklace just has an entirely passive effect on its own. When it comes to cooldown alignment, since most of our CDs are 1 or 2 minutes, you can line them up pretty well. Every minute you'll have Flight of the Navier and Weapon, and every other you'll pair them with Ice Blitz. Ideally, you want everything up for each Wrath of Winter, your spirit ability, aka Flight of the Navir, Ice Blitz, and your weapon ability. However, this doesn't always happen. So if possible, line it up with at least one of these abilities, preferably Ice Blitz. Keep in mind that you absolutely don't want to hold your cooldowns for too long, and it's usually better to just press everything pretty much on cooldown. If you know the next pull is a rough one, or the pack is already going down super fast that you're currently fighting, it's okay to hold your Wrath until the next pull. Here's some basic rotation tips. Bursting Ice, Freezing Torrent, Cold Snap, and Glacial Blasts. Usually you can't really get more than one Glacial Blast in a Bursting Ice window, if any. Filler is Frostbolt. AoE. Build up orbs, Freezing Torrent, Bursting Ice into Ice Comet, Cold Snap, or Cold Snap Ice Comets if you're playing with a cloak. Fillers will be Frostbolt and Freezing Torrent. So in AoE, you Freezing Torrent before you go into Bursting Ice. I think that sums it up roughly. If you found it helpful, do let me know, and if you have critique, I'd love to hear that as well. I stream on Twitch and I'm usually available on Discord. I hope you found some value in this guide. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in dungeons.